Hello, everybody in Peak Performance Nation. Today is Q&A day with your host, Thor Conklin.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy.
Thor, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thor, let's have a conversation about something you've been talking a lot about recently to clients and to some teams and organizations you've been working with. There seems to be a confusion you've noticed, I've noticed it through you, about profits and profitability. What is happening to companies that aren't profitable when they are making a profit?
All right, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Explain the differences in your mind between profit and profitability.
For me, how I see it.
For you and for the audience so they can understand the context of how we're answering the question.
Okay, so I think that in any given situation or in any given deal or transaction, a company can make a profit. It can have enough money, operate in the black, be such that everyone can get paid and payroll can be met and people can draw a salary. And the company can still be going in a downturn headed towards the red and not be profitable. Do you agree?
No. If it's in the black, it's in the black. If it's in the red, if it's going in the red, it's going in the red.
So how then are some companies operating such that everybody's making payroll, everyone's drawing a salary, it's in the black, and then 2 weeks from now you show up to the company and the doors are shut?
Easy, they're not profitable.
Didn't I just say that?
Yeah, but no, they're not profitable. The bottom line is what people do is they use cash and they use financing in order to sustain or to pump lifeblood into a company. But the bottom line is they're hemorrhaging cash.
Okay.
So that's not profitable.
Well, then explain the difference.
Ugh. All right. I mean, you're on a good topic here. Some business owners think that they have a good organization because everyone's getting paid, everything's good, sales are good, but every day they're losing money. They're not paying attention to the bottom line, the profitability of the company. Sales minus cost of goods sold, minus all the expenses, what's the profit? And if you have financing or excess cash, you can look like you're making money, but you're not making money.
Like an example. If you have financing or excess cash, you mean you can have an account balance of this and go get some reserve funding and stick that in your operating account, and now your balance is higher and you think you have more money than you do?
Yeah, I see businesses do it all the time. They have a business that's leaking money because they're not making money on the business. What they're doing is they're pumping it up with cash through financing or through their own cash. And they think they're making money because they're pulling a salary, everything, they're making sales, but the sales minus the expenses are not keeping it afloat. They're slowly going into debt, and the ship is taking on more water. It's leaking, and eventually it's going to sink it.
Do you think if you're the captain of a ship that's operating like that you can see that for yourself? Many
times not. Okay. And that's what I do. I go into businesses and find organizations that think they're doing okay. And I'm telling you, the number of businesses that are multi-million-dollar businesses that aren't making any money and where the owners are literally taking $50,000, $60,000 just for expenses is amazing. Really? And then what ends up, they'll take a distribution. And the distribution's based on some financing. Happens all the time. You've got to figure out where the ship is leaking. You've got to plug those holes. What ends up happening is you got an organization that's not cash flow positive. They're running around trying to figure out how to put more sales into the funnel. Now, I'm not saying that sales aren't important, but what happens is you put them in and it starts to leak some more. Some organizations, the more you sell, the more you lose. Happens all the time. You've got to understand your profitability. You've got to understand what supports it. And you've got to figure out where the leaks are. What don't you see? You've got to plug the leaks, then fill the pipeline with the sales. Profitable sales.
So if you have a high annual revenue, if you have a high dollar amount of annual revenue, are you automatically profitable?
No. Look at WorldCom. Multi-billion-dollar company. Gone. Enron, gone. Billion-dollar organizations. And matter of fact, the more money that you're taking in, if your infrastructure is large as well, which most are, the larger the sales, the larger the infrastructure,
right,
it can kill you even quicker. Because when payroll comes up, you're not looking at a $200,000 payroll this week.
Right.
You're looking at a $3 million payroll this week.
Right.
Those businesses can go out of business like that.
So if you're in a business now and you think you're doing okay, what are the give me like two red flags.
And by the way, I want to answer something. If you're listening to this and you're not familiar with Enron, Enron was posting profits every single quarter until they went out of business.
Well, right.
Posting profits. Profits doesn't equal cash. You go out of business when there's no more cash, not profits.
And
Study Enron.
And so having cash is profitability.
No. Thank you for asking that question. No, cash is not profitability because cash comes in the form of what? You can put cash into the company or you can turn your net profits into cash as a result of operations, or you can get cash in the company as a result of financing. Debt. That's right. So a lot of people have cash in the company and go, hey, I'm doing great. I got cash. Other people go, oh, I'm doing great. I got sales. None of that matters. I mean, cash does matter. How did you get the cash? Is it operating cash flow or is it financing cash flow? Big difference. Cash flow is not cash flow. I know I'm going into a little deep here, but here's the bottom line. You can't operate a business unless you know how to run the business, how to run the plane. Think of this as a plane, and you've got all these dials and gauges in front of you. You've got to understand what they mean. And just because you have money in your bank account doesn't mean anything. It's better than not having any money in your bank account, but it doesn't say that you have a profitable or a good business or a healthy business.
My dad would agree. Well, you're the profitability guy. I'm just saying that there's a lot of confusion out there about revenue and profitability, profits and profitability, cash and profitability, and that it's all one and the same.
Look, it all comes down to profitability. If you're in business, the reason you're in business is to create profitability. If you're looking for work-life balance, and so many entrepreneurs are, you want that, what you got to do is you got to produce profitability in your organization. You've got to bring in a professional team to run it. That's when you start to have work-life balance. When others are there in your organization, in your business, running your business for you. Yes, you can be involved, but you don't have to be there every single day. Every decision is not based on you being there making it. That's called a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. And many of you will not get past that job phase. And there's nothing wrong with it. But if you truly want work-life balance, you've got to get to the point where you're creating profits, and those profits are used to bring in a team to run and manage your company. You're the owner. I own Google. I own Tesla. I don't show up. I don't go to work. I've got a management team that goes there for me. I own stock in those companies. That's ownership. Now, you were going to ask a question and I cut you off.
Well, no, I'm just thinking about your ownership. And when you get your dividends check, is that profitability?
Damn right. It's a return on my investment. And then when I sell it, if I can sell it for more than I bought it, that's a return on my investment. That's business ownership. Most people have to say they're business owners or not. They own a job. And there's, again, I don't want to make this, there's nothing wrong with having a job. There's nothing about owning a job. But don't fool yourself if you're trying to create a life. And so many I hear, make very good livings, but they're in the middle of the business and they can't figure out how to get themselves out of it. And they're working harder today than they did last year. And you're going to be working harder next year than you are this year. Mm-hmm. There is no status quo. Your business is growing or dying. Your body is growing or dying. You're getting better or you're dying. Well, we're all dying, but you're getting better or worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, look into your company and make sure that you can identify the leaks. And
you got to identify the leaks. You've got to execute in order to create profitability. And in order to execute, many times you need accountability.
Okay.
Go back to the ultimate success plan. You've got to know where you're going. You've got to make those commitments. You've got to make sure your belief systems are in place. You've got to make sure that you're taking massive action. You've got accountability. And you allow enough time for that opportunity to create itself. Plant the seeds. You wait a little while. You water them. You take care of them. You get some sun. And then one day, you can reap your rewards. You can go out and you can harvest the fields. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.